So I am Labrina Coleman here at also known as Coach Coleman, where her movement, as you see in the background. And we have Kelly here. Kelly, go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are, your company, and what is that all about?
Yeah, first off, thank you so much for inviting ACT, Abuse Counseling and Treatment, to this wonderful platform. So, just to introduce myself, my name is Kelly Rico, and I am the Violence Prevention Educator here at Abuse Counseling and Treatment, ACT for short. We provide numerous services to residents in Glades, Hendry, and Lee County. Yeah.
That's great. That's great because, as we were just saying a bit earlier, this area itself needs a lot of help, a lot of support, because it's very small, it's very rural, and not only just this area. Just think about the world. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of crisis that's happening daily. But when we're in a seclusive area like the ones we are in, we have limited, almost to none existent resources. So I think it's great what your company mission is, what you stand for, in the vision. Do you
Yeah,
want to give us a little more insight of?
our mission.
Yes, yes.
So, abuse counseling and treatment. Our mission really is to protect, support, educate, and empower victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, and as well as human trafficking. We provide numerous resources. Not only do we provide community education, which is part of what I do,
Mhm.
we also provide different services. So, just to break it all down, we do have a shelter here in Fort Myers. We also have one in LaBelle and also in Cape Coral. And this is for really victims who need to escape, really, to get out of their abusive relationship. And it's really difficult to do that because not only do you have to think about, you know, the financial means of it, you also have to think about, okay, where am I going to stay? Where am I going to be safe? And so all of our services are free, safe, and confidential. And within our shelters, we provide numerous resources as well. We have counseling for victims and also for the kids. Sometimes, victims arrive with their kids, with their children, and we also provide legal services if they need it. We have lawyers on staff that can help with that. We also have advocates. It's sometimes really difficult to navigate through the court system. And at times we have advocates to go with them, with the victims, to court and just explain to them, what's going on, how is this going to work out, and things like that. But, going back to what you said, with the resources, if anyone is familiar with Glades and Henry County, I mean, it's rural. It's a rural area, and there is little to, none resources really. Some of the things that, top of my head that they have to think about is transportation. There isn't a public transportation there. And so one of the things I have to think about is like, how am I gonna go, how am I gonna go to the shelter? How am I gonna, drive to ACT? They have to think about transportation. They have to think about the financial means. If their abusive spouse is, the one who supports the family financially, and usually, in those cases, mom stays at home with the kids, and they have to think about the financial aspect of it. Um, and just like, where can I go to get resources, right? Where, it's a rural area. How is this free? What's the process? And that can be a little bit difficult.
I agree, because when someone is having a hard time or hardship, some people will say, well, why didn't you just think about this? Why don't you just do that? But when you're going through it, it's a bit hard to think about something that will come so easy to you when you have the space in your mind to think. Because if you're going through a hardship, you're thinking about what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my kids, my family, how can I pay for this? I don't have transportation. How can I? It's so many things, so many thoughts, rapid thoughts that are happening where you cannot think clearly, you cannot think straight, you cannot think rational. So just having a conversation with someone in your organization, if they are experiencing any hardship or domestic violence or suicidal ideations, human trafficking, uh, anything of that sort, just having a conversation, reach out to ask a question, can help clear some things.
Absolutely. And our services are free, they're safe, and they're confidential. What happens is when a victim reaches out, the first step really is to call our 24-hour hotline. Our 24-hour hotline, we do have a website. If you're not aware of it, we have a website online called actabuse.com. We also have social media platforms as well. We're also on Facebook and on Instagram. But if anybody needs that number, you can also Google it. And a fact that not a lot of people are aware of is that if you want to know where the shelter is at, well, our addresses are confidential. You're not able to find the physical address online, and so a way to get services really is to call our 24-hour helpline, and you're going to speak with an advocate and just explain your situation and just know that we want to help. We want you to reach out. We want you to be safe. And we want you, as well as your family members or whoever's involved, to be safe. And it is very difficult. It is very difficult to leave an abusive relationship. Just one thing to think about is that it's not just physical. In domestic violence, it can also be psychological, it can be emotional, and a lot of people just don't think about that. They don't think that they're in an abusive relationship because there isn't that physical part of it, the physical aspect of it. But I think it's so crucial and to know that we want to help. And again, our services are free. Um, so with that, with our services, it's available to everyone. We don't turn anyone away. If you are male or female, absolutely call us. A lot of people don't think that males are intimate partner, violent victims. And and because there's a stigma behind it, right? And so we accept, everyone. If you need help, reach out to us. And part of that, again, just going back to domestic violence. So uh, the terminology of it has changed through the years. But just to like break it down, domestic violence, a lot of people thought that it was just happening in the household. And so, what's happened during the years is that there's this new terminology called intimate partner violence, and that's pertaining to all relationships, not just in the household. IPV, intimate partner violence, in any relationship, whether it's partner relationship, whether it's marriage relationship, or whether it's any sort of relationship, really. Um, if you are a victim of IPV or domestic violence, reach out to us.
That's great. I didn't know the updated terminology, so that's good to know as well. Um, and that's just go. I'm using myself as an example of why it's good to have conversations, to reach out and have the conversation to get that knowledge. Because if you don't know what to do in these situations, you wouldn't know who to turn to or where to even start. Because including myself, just individuals, people, humans. We always think, oh, that's not me. That's not going to
Hmm.
happen to me. But you never know what may happen. So it's
Yeah,
always good to have these contacts. It's always good to know where to go if something like this was to occur, or even for a friend or for a family member. Uh, have the information, know where to go, You see Kelly here telling us about ACT. You probably already said it, but just to reiterate, what areas do you cover so anyone who's watching will know?
Yeah, so we do cover Lee County. We have a shelter in Fort Myers and Cape Coral. We cover Glades County, and we also cover Henry County, and we have a shelter out there in LaBelle as well. And again, back to the services part, we do have staff members who speak English, Spanish, and Creole. And if anybody else speaks another language, we can have, a translator online and help with that and be able to communicate to those victims. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's so important to be out in the community because whether we are available online, maybe someone doesn't have the internet, or maybe someone doesn't have access to that to their libraries, right? But with that, it's so important for us to be out in the community, whether it's tabling or whether it's doing a presentation or a training with an organization or an agency. That's part of what I do. I'm part of the community education department. And as I mentioned before, I'm an educator, a violence prevention educator. Now, just to speak a little bit on what I do specifically, I work primarily with youths. And I always say this, we can't always be there for, our children, for the kids. We can't always, be there looking over their shoulder or standing next to them to keep them safe. So I always say, what better way to keep them safe than to provide this knowledge and to provide the tools on how to navigate through those, risky situations where, it may arise, whether it's themselves or whether it's with their friends or whether it's with their family members. It's so important to provide this knowledge to them. So I work primarily with youths and with children. And so with that, I go into schools. I go into after school programs as well as clubs if anyone wants a speaker to present. I also do summer camps as well, and just this summer we were super busy. Our ACT staff, we did 42 presentations, and we engaged over 2,500 kids. And with that, we cover bullying. We covered bullying with that, but again, we do prevention education. I cover extensive topics such as healthy versus unhealthy relationships. I cover grooming. I cover types of abuses. I talk about human trafficking, not to the younger kids, but to the older kids, either in middle school and high school. We do talk about that. And with younger kids, we go over bullying, we go over self-esteem, we go over personal power. You know, we go over personal safety, unsafe and safe touches, right? It's never ever too late to give this kind of education to kids, because unfortunately, the statistics that are out there right now, with intimate partner violence, with IPV, a lot of kids enter that violent relationship between the ages 12 to 24, and that's when it's the most peak of the victims. So really, it's so important that we do talk to our kids about what it is to be in a healthy relationship and what red flags we have to look out for, what red flags, you have to look out for your friends. And then another one, another statistic that I do want to mention is for sexual assault. 1 to 3 girls and 1 to 5 boys are sexually assaulted before the age of 18. And so, with that, we really, really try to get out into the community and just educate kids about, personal safety, about what is safe, and for them to figure out what are the red flags and who to tell. That's most important, who to tell. We mentioned that all the time whenever we're presenting to have someone that you can confide in, someone that you trust, your trusted adult. And it's again, it's unfortunate that this is happening, but it is prevalent within our communities, and we can't ignore that. We just can't.
I agree. I agree 100%. I thank you for coming today and giving us all of the valid information. It was much needed for everyone to know that you exist, that there is help out there. Um, and I assume anyone can reach out if they're nervous to call the Hotline Anonymous.
Yes. Um, with, well, let's say like if you want to remain anonymous and like you want to explain the situation, um, you can, but in order for us to provide you services, you will have to give out your name. Um, Only because, we do try to provide you all kinds of services, whether it's legal services, whether it's counseling services. Um, so we ask, I know that it's so difficult to get out that relationship, that abusive relationship, but if, we just want to help. And so anonymous, you would have to just state your name. And again, we're just trying to help.
Okay. And they can reach out to you at the 1-800 number online. And is there any additional information before we wrap up?
Yeah, so our 24-hour hotline, I'll just, mention that. Our hotline number is 239-939-3112. Again, it's 24 hours, 365 days a year. If anybody would like to get in contact with me, you could find, my email or online at theactabuse.com, or they can contact our office, our administrative office, and they'll put you through.